Hello students, welcome back. In this video, we're going to add a mechanic expansion to Territory Rush. This is going to come in the form of capture effects. Right now, we're just simply lumping any new cell that we capture in our grid to our claimed territory. But in this video, we're going to sort of separate our previously captured grid, everything that we owned already, and our newly captured cells into two separate arrays. Because those newly captured cells, we're going to treat just a little differently. We're going to light them up when we capture them. And we're going to see if any enemies were in that region of newly captured cells. And if they were, we're going to destroy them. So this is going to give our player the ability to sort of fight back against the enemies. Not only will we destroy an enemy, but anytime we destroy one, we'll make sure that we do not spawn a new enemy on a capture. We'll give like an extra reward. So we'll have some form of spawn control in there as well. So let's head to the video and we'll dive into our mechanic expansion lesson. So I have lesson 7 starter file open here in vscode.dev. I'm going to minimize this and we will go to our Territory Rush folder directly. I'll open up lesson 7 and we'll go to our starter file so we can see exactly what we have working with right here. All right, so we should have a couple of things going on here. First, if I capture some territory, they should light up. All right, and the cells do not light up. And let's see, can I, oh, little guy broke my path again. Let's see if I can capture one, and let's see if we destroy it. So I'm going to go for this one right here. Oh my goodness, I'm so bad. All right, so that one probably should have got it because our rectangle, yeah, that one would have gotten it too. So it's not destroying any enemies at this point. So right now the system's broken. No surprise, because that's what we are going to fix in this video. So if we come over here in our mission checklist, I look at mission number 1. It says adjust the capture effects constants. So we're going to put a new system into our game, these like capture effects. Anytime we put a new system into our game, we want to have knobs or dials that we can turn to adjust the system, a way to finely tune it, to change how it looks, plays, or feels within our game. And that's going to come in our student edit zone. So if I scroll down here, we see a lot of our constants that we've worked with, and now I have some of our capture constants. We are going to be flashing the cells that we just captured to the screen. And so we have a variable here, a constant variable that is going to tell us how long should that flash last. Capture flash duration in seconds. And right now it's set to 100 seconds. That seems ridiculously high. That's like we would be blinded by a flash that was that long. So let's change that value. And we're going to make it a super small amount because we just want these cells to light up and then go back to looking like normal. So we're going to do 0.35 seconds here. And again, if you want to have that flash be a little bit longer, you absolutely can come in here and then adjust this knob. You can change this variable up or down to change the effect. Now, before we go on to mission 2, let's just see what else we have working with. We got to work with here in our capture system. So in my color palette, if I scroll down, it looks like I have a new color. Okay, it's our capture flash color. It's going to be an RGB alpha string. So 255 in the red, 255 in the green, 255 in the blue. That's going to make white, and it's going to have an alpha channel of 0.75. So it's going to be slightly transparent. So like a little transparent white is the flash color that we'll use. And then let's go look at our gameplay variables. Do we got any new variables to work with? All right, so we scroll down. Oh, here we are for our new system. We have a brand new array, a brand new container to put newly captured cells. Remember, we said we are going to sort of separate how we treat our previously captured cells in our grid, the territory we already own, and the territory that we just captured on a run. So we're going to put all of our newly captured cells right in here, and it's these cells that are in this array that we'll try to light up. And we have a variable here, capture flash timer seconds, that's going to control if we should light those up or not. So right now it's set to 0, but eventually we'll set it to 0.35 seconds, and then we'll count it down. If it's at 0.35 seconds, light those cells up, 0.34, 0.33, 0.32, 31, all the way down to 0.0321. And when it hits 0, we no longer light them up. So we're going to use that variable to control the duration of the flash. All right, with those system variables and system constants looked at, we can now move on to mission 2. We know what we're working with, so let's use it. In mission number 2, it says, hey, we got to reset our capture effects. So when we start a game, when we make a new game, we're going to clear all captured cell data and reset the flash timer. And so this finds us sort of in like the reset game to defaults. So if you look here, reset game to defaults, so it looks like we're changing our round number, resetting the round. So here is reset round. So we're doing all of these things where we update our ramp values, we reset our player, we change our grid, get our starting values, we reset the player here, we change our territory color, we update our enemies, and now we are going to reset our capture system. So that array that we just looked at, if it had things inside of it, we want to make sure on a brand new game it's empty. So we'll do newly captured, tab for autocomplete, newly captured cells. Let's empty out that container. Oh, cells. There's no capital M at the end of cells. All right, so let's empty out that array, that container. So now when we start a new game, there are no newly captured cells. And we should also probably set our timer back to 0. So we'll say capture flash timer seconds, I'll do a tab for autocomplete, is equal to 0. So on the start of the game, this is also reset. Perfect. Mission 2 is in the books. So let's see where this now takes us. So now we've got, like, our system is the foundation of our system is being built. So now mission 3 finds us in update territory. And it says we have to store our captured cells, store newly captured cells during the territory capture, track which cells were captured this turn. Okay, I think it might serve us well to go and actually look at what's happening in this function. Even though I think we've worked in this function before, let's go up to the top here at update territory. Okay, so if you remember, we created a variable called player is in captured territory by looking at our capture grid in a given column and given row. And this is either going to be true or false if we have captured it or not captured that cell. So this is going to be true or false. And then we look, okay, are we in a safe zone? Are we in our captured territory, but we are leaving? Then we begin capturing. So we begin capturing, we empty out our capture trail, and then we push whatever current cell we are in into that capture trail. Otherwise, we say, okay, are we already out there on the territory capturing brand new cells and going for more? Then we just add those cells to our capture trail. Otherwise, are we out there capturing but returning to a safe zone? If that's the case, we have to end our current run. And we found those minimum columns, maximum columns, min row, max row to find a rectangle that surrounds our capture trail. Now, if you look here, we empty out our newly captured cells. And there's a little comment here. It says captures just this run. So we loop through the rectangle that we found between the minimum column and the maximum column, the minimum row and the maximum row, and we add all of those cells in that column. So like if I did my run and I went out here and I got all of those cells right here, right? There's my minimum column, here's my maximum column, here's my minimum row, here's my maximum row. We add all of those cells to captured grid, which is great. But we also want to keep track of our newly captured cells because it's those newly captured cells that we're going to light up. I don't want to light up everything that is in captured grid. That would light up the entire grid, our captured territory. We don't want to do that. So we're going to take our new array, newly captured cells, and we're going to push into it. Remember the push function or the push method will add something to an array, and we are going to add it as an object. So I'm going to add it as an object, so curly brackets, and we're going to add the column and the row. So the column and the row variable. Perfect. So now not only are we keeping track of our total grid that we've captured, but now we're also keeping track of what cells we have captured just on this row. So we have to do something with that new information. What do we want to do? Well, we want to look at mission number 4. Mission number 4 is flash activation. It says trigger the capture flash effect. Start the flash timer when the capture occurs. So you can look here, we're asking a question. It says if false. Okay, well, false is always false. False is always going to answer no to a question. So this is never going to run. And what is this that we're trying to run here? Well, it says, hey, let's take our variable, capture flash timer seconds. That was the thing we originally set it to 0, but we said, hey, at some point we're going to set it to 0.35, and then we'll decrease it down 0.34, 0.33, 0.32, 0.31. And as long as it is above 0, it means we are going to be flashing the screen. And once it goes back to 0, then we stop the flash. If you look here, we set it to our constant variable, our tunable knob for the system, capture flash duration seconds, 0.35 seconds. We are arming our flash. Well, when do we want to arm our flash? We got to ask a question, right? We want to arm our flash, I guess, if there are newly captured cells in this array. As long as there was at least one newly captured cell, we are going to arm our flash. So let's use that array. We'll say, newly captured cells, tab for autocomplete. Every array has a length property, which is a measure of how many items are inside of it. And as long as that length is greater than 0, that means we have a newly captured cell. There's at least one element in this array. So arm our flash timer because we are going to light that element or those multiple elements up. Perfect. So it looks like mission 4 is complete. Let's test this out. Let's run this. Let's see if we get a nice flash. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to capture some cells. No flash. What? That's a bummer. We're arming our timer. Our timer is set, but nothing is happening. So even though the timer is set, we might not be doing anything with that information. So let's go look at mission number 5. Mission number 5 finds us in, draw captured territory. All right, so draw captured territory, before we go here, is being called from our draw scene function, where we draw our background, our captured territory, capture trail, draw enemies, our player, our HUD, and our overlays if certain conditions are being met. And remember, draw scene is being called every single frame of the game, because if I go up to my default P5 game loop functions of setup, which runs once at the start of the game, draw, which runs every single frame of the game, inside of the draw function, we are calling draw scene. So this is where we're getting it called. So we now have to draw the flash. So you see here, what are we doing in draw captured territory? Well, we're saying, no stroke, give me an invisible marker so you don't see the outline of the shape that I'm about to draw. And then we're putting some paint in our paint bucket with the fill command. And we are putting in our territory color. All right. And then we're looping through our grid. We're looping through all of our columns and all of our rows. So we're going through cell by cell, and we're checking to see if the cell in our captured grid is true or false. So if it's true, that means we've captured it, and we draw a rectangle. All right, we draw a rectangle of our new paint color. So we fill in that rectangle right there, which was just this gray blue background. We fill it in, we draw a rectangle over it of our green. And then we draw the next one, green, the next one, green, the next one, green. As long as those are true. If it's false, we don't draw it. Well, now we want to do something else here. Once we're done doing that, we want to draw the highlight effect. And so our highlight effect is going to be using not our capture grid, but it's probably going to be using like our, let's take a look. Let's think about this for a second. What is it going to use? It's going to use our newly captured cells. If you look right here, inside of here, we get some flash amount and flash color. So we're going to flash and fade our color. We put a new paint in our paint bucket, that flash color that we just defined here. And if you notice here, our flash color, look at what we're doing. We're lerping. Remember how we used lerp for our difficulty ramp to change from one starting value to another value, an ending value? You can lerp with colors as well. So we're going to loop from our territory color to our flash color, which is going to be kind of nice. And we put that new flash color in our paint bucket, and then we loop over every cell that is in our newly captured cells array and draw a rectangle in that new spot. So now, right, if we captured this one, we make it green, and now we're going to draw another rectangle that's going to sit over this. That's going to be a flashed color, and that color is going to change because we're lerping from one color to the next. We just have to trigger this properly because right now we're saying if false. So that means this is never going to run. Well, what controls whether or not we should flash some of our new cells? We have a timer that we just set in the last mission. It's called capture flash timer seconds. And we want to see if it is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, then we need to flash those newly captured cells. All right, with that line fixed, I think we have just turned this whole system on. So let's check it out. Let's see if we get that flash effect that we are looking for. All right, I'm going to come in here. And there it is. Ooh, that looked really cool. So we flashed that new rectangle. Awesome. This is working really cool. Now, the next thing that we want to do here is say any enemy that finds itself in that, oh, I missed it. Oh, man. Any enemy that finds itself in that rectangle that we just flashed is going to get destroyed. This is our player's ability to fight back. So we now have to put this system in place. So let's go back to our code and let's see if we can implement this new system. So this is going to bring us to mission number 6. We're fighting back. It says we have to destroy enemies inside of our captured area. So let's go to our code. We'll hit the down arrow here. And this finds us in a new function called destroyed enemies inside captured area. Now there's a lot happening in this function that we've sort of seen before. If you look here, we pass in a minimum column, a maximum column, a minimum row, and a maximum row. So this is going to be defining the rectangle that we just captured. All right, so we've seen that before. And then it looks like we get the left side of that rectangle, the right side of that rectangle, the top of that rectangle, the bottom of that rectangle. And then we loop through all of our enemies that are on the screen. And we say, ooh, let's get the left side of our current enemy, the right side of our current enemy, the top of our current enemy, and the bottom of our current enemy. And then we ask this question right here. It says if enemy.right or enemy right is greater than captured left, and enemy left is less than capture right, and enemy bottom is greater than capture top, and enemy top is less than capture bottom. We've seen this exact question before. You can stay here. I'm going to go find where we've seen that exact same question, and it was in check enemy trail collisions. We got the enemies left, right, top, bottom. We got a cell in our trails. For every cell, we went through and we got the trails left, right, top, and bottom. And then we checked to see if there was overlap. So that question right there is asking, are those things overlapping? Is there an actual collision? So that logic we've seen before, and we just repeat it here, this time for not an enemy in our trail to see if the enemy is going to break our trail, but the enemy in our newly captured area to see if we can now destroy our enemies. And so in here, we are going to destroy our enemies inside of the capture area. Remove enemies that fall within the captured bounds. Okay, so right now, how am I going to do this? Well, if you look, we've got this array called enemies, and we are looping over it backwards. So this is a really interesting thing here. Anytime you loop over an array backwards, it is the indication that you are going to remove something from the array. So let's just talk about how this is going to happen. So let's say my container of enemies has enemy 1, enemy 2, enemy 3, enemy 4. There's 4 enemies on the screen. Each one of those enemies comes at a specific index in the array, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you remember, arrays have a length. So the length of this array is a measure of how many items are inside of it. Our length right now is 4. There's 4 things inside of this array, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are defining a variable I, and we're setting I equal to the length of our array, which is 4, minus 1. So I right now is equal to 4 minus 1, which is 3. That corresponds to the last position or index in our array. And we open up the array and we grab the element at index I, which is 3. So we grab this last element. And then we're going to run all of this code. We're going to check to see if that enemy was inside of our captured arena. And then we decrease I by 1. So then I becomes 2. So we grab the previous element in the array. Right here, it's now this guy. And we store it in the variable enemy, and we work with it, check to see if it needs to be destroyed. And then we go to the previous one at 1, and then the previous one at 0. And then when we run out of elements, we stop the loop. So looping backwards here is a great way to remove enemies. And we're going to remove whatever enemy is at the value of I that makes this condition true. So to remove something from an array, we use the splice method. We use the push method to push something into it, and we use the splice method to remove something. So I'm going to type the name of my array holding all of my enemies, dot splice. And then inside of this splice method, we got to tell it what position or index we want to reach in and remove from. So do we want to remove the enemy at index 3, 2, 1, 0? Well, we're going to remove what is ever at index I for our current iteration of our loop. And then you also have to tell it how many you want to delete, our delete count number. So starting at this position, we only want to delete one singular enemy. So we'll just type a 1 there. All right, so that is really, really good. But we're going to do one more thing here in this mission before we go on to mission number 7, or before we test this. If you look here, I have a variable called did destroy enemy. So we're going to track whether or not we did destroy an enemy. And it's currently initialized or set to be false. So we set it to false, and then we go and we check every single enemy in our array. And if this condition is true, there is overlap between our enemy and our newly captured grid area, we destroyed an enemy. So we should take did destroy enemy and set it equal to true, because we just destroyed an enemy. And if you look, we are returning that value out of this function. So this value, true or false, which is keeping track of whether or not an enemy was destroyed or not, is getting sent somewhere out of this function. And I think we will probably have to use that coming up here soon. So before we do that, let's test this. Let's see if we can actually destroy an enemy. Well, let's see if I can actually destroy an enemy, because I have been really bad at this. Ow. Okay, I'm going to get this one. It did not work. We did not destroy our enemy. Why not? That was, let's see, can I get this one? Nothing. So it's not working quite yet. Let's figure out what's going on. Well, if you find yourself looking at a function and you say, hey, I'm pretty sure we're doing what we need to be doing here. If our enemy is inside of one of our newly captured cells, we are clearly removing it. This function looks like it's working. That just means we might not yet be calling this function. We might not be running this set of instructions. We wrote the instructions, but now we have to actually call the instructions to actually run them. So writing the instructions and running those instructions are two different things. And so let's go see if mission 7 brings us to where we need to be. So we're going to open up and go to mission 7. Mission 7 says, let's track whether an enemy was destroyed. All right, so mission 7 finds us in update territories. So remember, okay, we worked in here. We already went through what update territory was doing. We're figuring out if we're leaving, going for more cells, finishing a run. If we finish a run, we add everything to our capture grid and to our newly captured cells. We trigger our flash animation, and now it says, we're going to track whether an enemy was destroyed. Return a value that reflects capture impact. So that we just have a variable here called did destroy enemy. And it's currently set to false. Well, it could be false, right? Did we destroy an enemy? It could be true if we did destroy an enemy. It could be false if we didn't. So how do we know if we destroyed an enemy? Well, here we are going to call that brand new function that we were working with. We are going to call the function destroy enemies inside capture area, tab for autocomplete. Because remember, this function right here, it's the function we just worked on in mission number 6. It's going to do all that work of checking to see if an enemy was destroyed. And if it was destroyed, it's going to return true. If it wasn't destroyed, it will return false. So we're going to use that function now to update the value of our variable in update territory. But we got to just be careful. This function needs some information. It needs a minimum column, a maximum column, a min row, and a max row of the bounding rectangle of the new territory that we just captured. So let's go back to mission 7 and make sure we pass those in. Do we have those values? Do we have a minimum column, a max column, a min row, and a max row in this function? We absolutely do. They're defined right here. Min col, max col, min row, max row. We are going to send those in as arguments to our function. So let's do that right here. We'll say min col, max col, min row, max row. All right, now we're cooking. So now every time we call update territory, which runs every single frame of our game because it's in that P5 draw function, if we finish our cells, right, we finished our run, we're going to call destroy enemies inside capture area. It's going to check it. It's going to destroy them if they're there. If they're not, it won't, and it will return a Boolean value, true or false. So now we know if we destroyed an enemy. Let's go check it. Now that we are actually running those instructions, we should destroy our enemies. Let's see. Get some enemies on the screen. All right, let's see. Going to get this one right there, and he's gone. That's perfect. But, oh, wait a minute. This was not good. If you noticed, I destroyed one, but I still had 3 enemies on the screen. And the reason why is we spawned a brand new enemy even though I destroyed one. So that's not good. I don't like that behavior. Like I destroyed that one right there, and then another one just spawned. So it almost feels like the reward is reduced. We destroy one enemy just to create another one. And so what I want to do now is issue some spawn control. And this is going to be mission number 8. Our last thing that we're going to do here for this system. It says control enemy spawning based on our capture results. Our capture results are right here in this variable, did destroy enemy. It's either going to be true or false. We're told to only spawn new enemies when none were destroyed. So if we did destroy an enemy, let's reward the player and not spawn a new enemy this time. So we're asking a question. Right now our question only says if enemies.length, the length of our enemies array, how many enemies are there on the screen? If it's less than our max enemies on screen, we spawn our enemy. We don't even check to see if our player destroyed or did not destroy an enemy. So we want actually not one condition. We want this condition to be true, because if my length has, four enemies on it and my max enemy on screen is 4, I should never make another one. I should never set the length to be greater than max enemies on screen. So that needs to be there, but we need to add another condition. So 2 and signs to make sure that both of these questions have to answer yes. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to look at our variable, did destroy enemy, and we want to ask, did they not, exclamation point, to negate a value. Did they not destroy an enemy? So not did destroy enemy. So if we look, if I captured territory and did destroy enemy was false, okay, and the length of my array is less than the max enemies on screen, if both of those questions are true, then we will spawn an enemy. And with that, I believe our capture effects mission, our lesson, is complete. So let's go see this whole lesson in action. Let's go see what we got to work with. So, all right, I'm going to capture one right now. I'm not going to destroy an enemy, so a new one should spawn. Perfect. And let's see, I'm going to capture. Can I capture? And look at that. I captured and nobody spawned. So I removed that enemy. It feels like I'm powerful now. So this is good. All right. And look at that. I got both of them right there. So that was pretty good. So now I'm just like free to do whatever I want. Oh no, another enemy came back. I guess I'm not free to do whatever I want. And there you go. They keep spawning. Let's just check it out as I advance to a new level, hopefully soon. All right, there we go. Perfect. And so this system is consistent across multiple levels. Oh, shoot. There we go. And I got rid of that one. Awesome. So I now feel like I have the ability to not only claim territory, but fight back against my enemies, which is exactly what I was hoping to implement in this lesson. So I think this is a great place to stop here with our mechanic expansion, and I'll see you in the next video.